a little bit of my a proper conversation on science, God, and the universe. First and foremost, there is no such thing as a person or a thing or an object named God. What we have are the laws of physics. Gravity, strong nuclear force which binds things together, gravity which pulls things down toward the center of the earth, the electromagnetic force, and the weak nuclear force, the strong nuclear force, and gravity and electromagnetic force. Those are the four fundamental forces that we know of thus far. So in reality, there's no such thing as a person, thing, or an object, or whatever, or group, whatever, name a God. What we have are the fundamental forces of physics and the unification of our fundamental forces of physics. And we know this because it has been scientifically validated that there's something called gravity, which pulls stuff towards the center of the earth and keeps some um, it holds planets in orbit and so forth. And we have electromagnetic force, and we have the strong nuclear force and the weak nuclear force. Okay. So, and also too, over the years, if we look at those ancient stories of creation, in some of the original stories of creation, Enenu gave birth to Adamo or Adapo, and from there they took a rib to create Eve. So as you can see from there, that story has evolved and changed over time. Okay, so I can tell you that no, the earth was not created in 6 days, and no, the earth is not 6,000 years old, and no, the universe is not 6 days, 6,000 years old, and we know this based on the archaeological evidence, the people, the Indian civilization and the Chinese civilization goes back at least 9,000 years there. The Aboriginal peoples of Australia goes back way over 20,000 years. Okay, we also have the um, archaeological records from, look at the remains of bones, remains of skeletons, um, Gobekli Tepe. All right, we can go all the way back and look at all those very ancient civilizations. We also look at the ideas of science, like the Big Bang, uh, the size of the universe, and all that stuff. So I can tell you without a doubt, no, your universe is not 6,000 years old. Earth is not 6,000 years old. Um, I know the Earth was not created in 6 days. These are basically um, myth, mythical stories there's by ancient peoples from the Middle East to explain the world around it. Okay, do I think there also was a worldwide flood? No, there's no evidence of a worldwide flood. What we have is, in essence, a was a local flood where the um, levels rise very quickly. Sea levels rise very quickly. We know a few years ago, sea level rise by at least 300 feet. We also know from that the Persian Gulf was once had no water, and a few thousand years ago, it was flooded by water. Based on what they have seen from the um, survey in that era, the Persian Gulf was once dry, and there was once a civilization in the Persian Gulf. So that's not covered with water. Okay, but let's and that's not covered by water. Hopefully, in the future, science can, archaeologists can do some studies to be able to actually conduct survey of the area beneath that's now beneath the Persian Gulf that was once dry, and where civilization once exists. So we can know that we do know this, but and also to as a rationalist, I think I base my student on evidence. So no, Earth is not 6,000 years old. Earth was not created in 6 days. There was no, and this is based on, again, looking at ancient records of India and Egypt, go back at Tepe. We can look at the Aboriginal people of Australia, civilization in Africa, the Dogon civilization in Africa, many ancient, the Great Zimbabwe um, uh, structures are saw in Africa. We can also look at the um, fossil records. Yes, that goes back millions and billions of years. We can also look at the record of asteroid impacts on planet Earth. We also can look at the fact that in the universe and the Big Bang and all those things point to that. No, the Earth is not 6,000 years old. The universe is not 6,000 years old. The Earth was not created in 6 days. The universe is not created in 6 days. These have been around for billions of years. Now, is there a possibility of other advanced civilizations in the universe? I think there's a great possibility. For example, we know if a planet is not too close to a sun or a star, you can have liquid water. And where there's liquid water, with time and the force of evolution, life can develop there. But this nonsense that there's some individual somewhere called a God, and there's some deity, and no, there's what we have based on evidence, based on observation. We have the laws of physics and, unification of laws of physics, as Albert Einstein would want to say. So we need to grow up and get better to this nonsense. Okay. And in closing, so yes, and sometime in the future, and as Arthur C. Clarke once says, there are possibilities of very advanced civilizations in the universe. They might be so advanced that their technology look to us like magic. For example, when the in World War II, when the American soldiers came in contact with people from Papua New Guinea, they thought there were some gods, and they built model planes and tried to worship it. So basically, anytime an advanced civilization meets a primitive civilization, we have the cargo cult effect. Okay, so I think a lot of these religions are basically cargo cult effect. I don't know everything. I am not perfect. The person who look at have a rational view of the universe. Um, um, if if there's no evidence come forth, then I have to change. But uh, we have to go on evidence, and evidence says no. Earth's not 6,000 years old. Earth's not created in 6 days. There was no flood coming into Earth. What happened was massive sea rise, asteroid impact, media impacts, um, the Younger Dryas event, and we've had asteroid impacts throughout history, and may sometime in the future we may have more. But we have to base our statements on the best evidence available. Science is evolving, and we have to evolve in science. So no, we need to put a big message there about, you know, some form dust of the ground and breathe of nostril and a bit of life. Actually, that creation story in Genesis came from an older source, which in which in that source, in Nana gave birth to Adamo, and they turned to the root from Adamo to create Eve. So we can see that those stories have a similarity, but as we can see, it's been edited out. Okay, so based on evidence, there's four fundamental forces. There's no person, thing, or object named God, but we have four fundamental forces, and one of the four fundamental forces, unification for, as Albert Einstein says, irrigation of fundamental forces. But the idea that there's a person, thing, or object named God, that's just more primitive stuff. And in the stem of civilizations in another planet in the universe. There's a possibility of that. But as we all know, as we saw in World War II when American soldiers came in contact with people from Papua New Guinea, when an advanced civilization meets a primitive civilization, there's the effect called a cargo cult phenomenon, in which the primitive people try to bow down and worship them the advanced civilization. And there's a lot that's been going on here. Okay, the possibility of civilization, there's a possible. We're not sure, but there's a possible to say that we're the only one in the universe. That's a little bit arrogant because we know if a planet is not too close to a sun or not too far from a sun, we are liquid water. Liquid water with billions of years of evolution, life can develop them. Okay, and that's my honest way to see. I look at the world a rational view of the universe and science and so forth. Thank you very much and have a good day.